Nadia Nadim was born in Afghanistan. At the age of 11, her father, a general in the Afghan National Army, was executed by the Taliban. Her mother fled the country with her 5 daughters, selling their possessions to fund their escape. On forged passports, they travelled by truck to Italy and went on to a refugee camp in Denmark. And it was there that she discovered football after seeing a group of children playing it over a fence. And despite not speaking any English or Danish, she gestured to the coach that she wanted to play, and he let her join in. Well, Nadia went on to play for the Danish national team over 100 times for her adopted homeland. And last week, Nadia was on air covering the World Cup. But her joy at this career high as a broadcaster was sadly tarnished by the terrible news that her mother had been killed in a road accident.
Let's have a look how the table is after all that. I'm afraid Nadia's had to leave us at short notice.
And despite losing the person she called the most important in her life, Nadia returned to work and was back on air within days. And Nadia joins me now. Nadia, thank you so much for joining me. First, my deepest condolences to you on the loss of your mother. It was an awful thing to hear about here at the World Cup.
Yeah.
We were all aware of what had happened, and you had to leave very suddenly, and then we found out why. Your mother had been killed in this accident. But it also made me go away and research you and your life, because I didn't know much about you, if I'm honest. And what I found was quite extraordinary. And I wanted to get you on the show just to really talk about, first, what's happened to you in the last 7 days, but also to talk about why your mother was so important to you and this extraordinary journey you went on with her from Afghanistan to get you to where you are today. So thank you, first of all, and my deepest condolences, as I say, to you and all your family.
Thank you.
You were commentating last week, it was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you suddenly get told that your mother has died in this awful accident.
Yeah.
That, for you, must have been just given all you'd been through together,
Yeah.
a terrible moment.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think, as you said, Tunisia versus Denmark, sitting there, and I started receiving a lot of messages from family. No one was really telling me what was happening. Everyone was like, have you heard? Are you on your way? And finally, in the second half, I got a call from my cousin, and he had told me that my mom had passed away. And for the first 10 minutes, I wasn't believing it. I was like, that can't be. My mom was a healthy woman and, 57 years old. I couldn't really believe it, especially the way they told me. It was like an accident. And yeah, flew back home, and yeah, it was the reality. It's definitely heartbroken, unexpected, not only for me, but for the entire family.
And the really sad part of this was that she'd gone to the gym early so that she could get back in time to watch you commentating, because that was what she was so proud of. And, that's just a twist of fate.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that I know for in life for sure is that nothing's 100%, and everything can happen right away. And then, as I said, we did not expect it, and her dying that way is hard, because I was expecting to live and be with her for the next 20 years. One of the closest persons in my life. I mean, the closest person. One of the strongest women I've ever encountered in my life, not just because she was my mom, but because the hardships she's been going through, and how she raised us, 5 kids alone, actually took us from one continent to another. And yeah, losing her life that way hurt me. But on the other hand, it's, I have her in me, and her spirit, her fighting mentality, and I'm gonna do everything in my hands to make her proud.
The mere fact you come back to the World Cup says that. I mean, that's exactly the kind of spirit that your mother had, that she would have wanted you to show. And I want to take you back now to Afghanistan. First of all, you're living there with your parents and your 4 sisters, I think you have.
Yeah.
And your father is in the Afghan military. He's a general, I think, is that right?
Yes.
And he was murdered by the Taliban when you were just 11 years old.
Yeah.
What are your memories of that awful time?
11 years old, vivid memories. I remember everything. It was until that point, I think my life's been always very protective. My dad was a general, and my mom was a school teacher, lecturer later on. And we've always been very protected. But after the Taliban gained power, killed my dad because obviously he had like a very high position in the army, and everything after that it was just like chaos. We were trying to survive for a very long time, trying to make it in the country, but it was hard, you know. 5 girls and a mom.
You went into
mom.
hiding, I think, for
Yes, we did.
quite a while.
Yeah.
And then you went to Pakistan. You got some stolen passports,
Yeah.
and you eventually find yourselves in Denmark. I think you thought you were going to England at one stage.
Yeah, I know. Funny story, huh? We had family in England, and at that point, obviously, we wanted to be reunited with our family. But fate didn't want us to end up in England for some reason. And honestly, I don't really care because we were together and we were in safety, and that's the point of the entire thing.
And there's an amazing moment. You're in Denmark, and you're in like an asylum camp, a refugee camp. And you look over a fence, and you see some kids playing football. And you've never played the game, I don't think, until that point. You don't speak either English or Danish, but you're desperate to get involved. And eventually the coach who's teaching these kids says, come on then, you can join in.
Yeah.
What was it about football that you were drawn to?
I mean, there's so many things I'm drawn, you know, to the game. I remember one of the first time I saw a girls' team play. The girls who were playing, they looked happy and they looked free. And me coming from a country where I had to be in hiding and always felt unsafe, that was something that attracted me.
And you'd also been prevented from going to school.
Yes.
Right, by the Taliban.
Yeah, correct. So I don't know, it's just the game was speaking to me and I wanted to be that person on the field. And, you know, it was one of those moments struck by lightning and my eyes were widened up and I was like, I want to be that kid. And, you know, I have this, I don't know, I always thought it was from my dad's side, this fire inside of me, but I for sure know now it's from my mom's side.
Probably both, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a combination. Yeah.
And it turns out you are unbelievably good at football. In fact, you go on to play for Denmark over 100 times. You score in a European Championship final. You're a brilliant player. You're one of the great female footballers there's ever been. And yet it was all really just fortuitous. The luck of the draw of life that took you from Afghanistan to Denmark and then this remarkable career.
Fate.
Yeah.
I do believe in fate. And I think also that's one of the reasons I can sit here today after less than 7 days, my mom passed away. Because I'm an emotional person, but I'm very also irrational thinking, you know. I think what's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I try to find a positive in every situation I am in. And I think football gave me a life. And, you know, my background brought me to football. And then football gave me the life I have today. And yeah, I want to take it and I want to do as much as good possible.
Most people would say that's enough. Drama, horror, challenges for one life, but not you. You've decided to become a doctor and you're now involved in surgery, in repairing bodies effectively, right?
Yeah, I actually graduated as a doctor this January 14. I haven't finished, you know, becoming surgeon yet. This is something I'm gonna qualify whenever I'm done. But yeah, doctor is a big thing. My mom, that was one of her wishes, you know, one of her kids to be a doctor. And now she has 2 doctors and 2 nurses in her family. And yeah.
And you've been around
excited.
Reconstructive surgeons, I know.
Yeah.
And you talked about how some of the skills you need to be a very super confident football player actually are quite similar to the skills you need to be a top surgeon.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to be able to work under pressure, the responsibility I really like, and also feels like the adrenaline that you have on the surgeries. It's very similar to scoring
What's
a goal.
scarier, being in a surgical room with a real patient and trying to save their life, or playing in a European Championship final?
I don't think none of them are scary, to be honest. They're both equally exciting.
How many languages do you speak?
Quite a lot.
How many?
Fully around 9.
Which ones?
So I speak Danish, English, French, German, Hindi, Persian, Dari Urdu. I understand obviously Swedish and Norwegian because they're quite similar to
Is there anything you can't do?
There probably is quite a lot of things I don't know yet, but if I start focusing on them, I'm probably gonna learn them.
I mean, it's a remarkable story. And I'm, again, so sorry about the loss of your mother because it's now so apparent to me why she was such a pivotal person in your life. You know, you made this journey with her from Afghanistan to Denmark. Without her, I guess none of you would have made it.
You're 100% correct. And I really feel she gave us life twice. Once when she gave birth to me, and second time when she took me from Afghanistan to Denmark to have a better future, a brighter future. And yeah, it's someone that I'm gonna always remember, and I want to remember the good, the happy memories I had with her.
What kind of woman was she? Her name was Hamida.
Hamida.
What kind of woman was she?
My mom was a very stubborn woman. If she once set her mind to something, she'll go for it. And it didn't matter if the entire world was against her. She's very intelligent, and then just like this little lady with so much energy in her, so much power, and someone who people listen to. And she touched so many people's lives. And even to her funeral, it was a Friday, 9:30, and we just announced the day before because I'm a Muslim, and our religion, you have to bury, as soon as possible. And there was like thousands of people there, and it just showed what kind of human being she was, someone who touched people's hearts.
Do you feel like she's with you in spirit?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's also the reason I'm so calm. I said I believe in fate. I believe she's in a better place, and what's meant to be is meant to be. And for me to lay down and cry my eyes out for months and months, I don't think that's gonna fix anything. She's not gonna come back. If that was the case, trust me, I'll be the one doing that. So I try to, take that energy, those emotions, and put it something that will remember her, honor her, and hopefully for me, bring me further in life.
You're only 34 years old, and yet you've experienced so much in your life. What's next for you, do you think?
I hope less drama in that ways, less tragedy. I hope that I can grow into a person who can have an impact not only on my life, on people around me, but people who are in need. That's something that I'm passionate about. That's something my mom was passionate about. And I work hard for it.
We're going to talk football tonight, obviously. What do you make of the World Cup so far? Who are your picks to perhaps win it?
Honestly, I've been enjoying the World Cup. Watching the games at the stadium. It's been great atmosphere. For me, there's a couple of teams who've been doing very well. I think we can all agree on that Brazil looks very sharp. The reason for me they're looking so good and probably one of my favorites to win this tournament is because they're so balanced as a team. They have great strikers, not one player. They have 4 or 5 that can decide games. Great midfield, experience back, and then 2 of the best Premier League keepers there is.
Right.
And France, before the World Cup, I was counting them a bit out because they're missing, the engine and Pogba and Kanté. But actually, with the 2 young midfielders, they've been doing very well.
You know what? When you've got Kylian Mbappe up front and he's playing like he is,
I guess
you can win anything.
Yeah, that's fact. Well, let's see when the games are getting, a bit harder if he's going to maintain performance.
A lot of very excited American fans. I mean, it's a massive moment for Team US because they've beaten Iran.
I know.
Obviously, a very highly charged fixture that historically. A lot of tension building up to it, but America have got through to the last 16. Who knows? Maybe England, America in the final.
That's very optimistic. I'm sorry to say so. But you know what? This World Cup has shown that everything can happen, and
you know
it's
what?
football.
If I said to you, will Saudi ever beat Argentina? You just said, don't be ridiculous.
That's true. Facts.
This is the World Cup where miracles are happening.